Good day, everyone. This time we are going to continue Lesson 1 with the topics Standards per grade level and the domains in MTB MLE. First, let us tackle the standards per grade level. I am your facilitator, Chimariel L. Gaputan, and I am happy that I get to discuss this with you. Thank you. Before we move on to the standards per grade level, let us first tackle the key stage standard. What is this key stage standard? As we all know, the mother tongue subject is taught from grade 1 to grade 3. Thus, we consider grade 3 learners as the finishers of the MTB MLE program. And this is where the key stage standard comes in, that grade 3 learners or finishers should have enjoyed communicating in their first language on familiar topics for a variety of purposes and audiences, using basic vocabulary and phrases, read first language texts with understanding, and create their own stories and texts in their first language. This is the standard that the Department of Education stated for the MTB MLE program finishers, which is the grade 3. For the standards per grade level, we start with kindergarten for the early childhood education. So in kindergarten, the learner should have to demonstrate skills and strategies in phonemic awareness, alphabet knowledge, sound letter correspondences, decoding, vocabulary and comprehension as they enjoy listening and responding to a variety of texts in their mother tongue. As we can see here, the basic skills are given emphasis for kindergarten learners. We can clearly see that the importance is being put on alphabet and their sounds, the sounds of letters, and the corresponding letter of that sound. Yet there is also this comprehension and vocabulary in which they enjoy listening to stories. There is also this emphasis on the variety of texts in their mother tongue, which means that as early as kindergarten, they are exposed to a variety of texts, different genres, and different and depth feel of the story itself, and of course in their mother tongue. We then move up to grade 1. In kindergarten, the emphasis is put on letters and their sounds, and them listening and enjoying the stories. Here in grade 1, they are to talk about familiar topics using simple words. They begin to speak and talk about what they want on certain topics. They also learn about the verbal and nonverbal cues to understand spoken language. And with them being able to speak these simple words, there is an understanding of these basic vocabulary and language structures. In grade 1, they also begin to read in processes, of course guided by the teacher. Another one is writing system. They don't just only view, but they engage in activities that enhance their motor skills in writing. And in doing all of these, they begin to appreciate an aspects of their culture because they are more exposed to experiences, and with those experiences, they realize many things. And thus, because of this, they will appreciate of their culture. Now, let's move on to grade 2. In grade 1, it was emphasized that the grade 1 learners, we can see here that there is a change. That grade 2 learners now talk about a variety of topics, but when compared to grade 1, only with the familiar topics. And because of their exposure to various experiences here in grade 2, their developing vocabulary and simple phrases and sentences helps them to be able to talk about a variety of topics. In grade 2 too, complex spoken language is also paired up with a simple spoken language. They should also be able to understand vocabulary and its structures. And in practicing these communication skills, they appreciate and understand the cultural aspects of the language and the writing system used. Just like in grade 1. And also because the examples and the activities relate well with the specific culture that the learners are in. Lastly, the learner reads and writes simple and short literary and informational texts, which also develops them to put into paper what they hear and see. Lastly, the grade 3. Specifically, the skills that needs to be observed in grade 3 is or are communication skills, and this time not only with a variety of topics, but a variety of topics using expanding vocabulary and phrases from their experiences way back in grade 2 and grade 1 and their experience in grade 3. They still also needs to have an understanding of spoken language, both in verbal and nonverbal cues, but this time, they can do it in different contexts. Another one is in the vocabulary and language structure aspects of the language. And lastly, they read and write literary and informational texts. What then can we say about the standards per grade level? We can say that the grade levels standards also get higher, focusing on the necessary skills that they should have from their past experiences, from their past grade levels, and from their current grade level. We can also note that emphasis is being put on the basics first before moving to a higher level. But we can also say that the levels are not only rising, but expanding in variety of experiences, of skills of the learners. What is the importance of this to us teachers then? As teachers, we are able to direct our learning objectives to this standard, that by the end of the year, they can be able to obtain these skills and use it not only in the classroom, but in their everyday lives. As teachers, we can set goals purposefully. How about you? How do you think of these standards? You can pause this video to reflect on what you have just learned about the standards per grade level for the MTB MLE program. You have finished the standards per grade level subtopic. Thank you for listening. You may pause this video before we proceed to the next subtopic. Welcome back to another subtopic of this lesson for this module. This time our topic is going to be concerning the domains in MTB MLE. For us to bridge what we have learned, let us recall that Ms. Gracia Horado discussed all about the content and performance standards. And from the recent part of this video, we also discussed about the standards per grade level. Now the question is, what is the importance of these standards to the domains in MTB MLE? As you have observed in the discussions, the standards consist of the skills and experiences that children should have. Now, the domains in MTB MLE are the basis of these skills. Without the domains in MTB MLE, there would also be no grounds for these standards. That is how important the domains in MTB MLE is. These are the specific domains in which the skills are based from, so that the Department of Education, the teachers, and other stakeholders can target specific knowledge and skills that is to be attained by the learners. Here are the domains in MTB MLE. Oral language, phonological skills, book and print knowledge, alphabet knowledge, phonics and word recognition, fluency, speaking, handwriting, composing, grammar awareness, vocabulary and concept, development, listening comprehension, reading comprehension, attitude towards reading, and study skills. In here, we can also see that the 5 core skills are also incorporated here in the domains. But the domains are more specific. You might be wondering how the kindergarten or the grade 1 can cater all the domains presented here. You might also be wondering how the curriculum guide goes through all of these domains. I bet you're also thinking if the time allotted by DepEd for MTB MLE can cater to all these domains per week. Well, let's learn more about that in the next slide. The mother tongue subject is to be taught in 4 quarters in a school year. And for each quarter, there are more or less 10 lessons. Each lesson lasts for a week and is under a theme. And the domains presented are distributed within that week, which means that there are 1 to 2 domains that are catered per day. And the lesson for the day is delivered in 60 minutes. The domains focused in this session for 60 minutes is delivered via activities that aim to develop the content and performance standards that is shown in the curriculum guide. Here we have a sample matrix for grade 1. You can look it up on the curriculum guide. It is on page 11. So here we have a grade level standard, which we discussed a while ago, and it is the same as we discussed a while ago. It is the grade level standard for grade 1. So let us read again. The learner demonstrates knowledge and skills in listening and communicating about familiar topics, uses basic vocabulary, reads and writes independently in meaningful contexts, appreciates his or her culture. Let me highlight the grade level standard. The grade level standard is the basis for all the domains that will be included here in this matrix. So we proceed to the domains. The domain oral language has the following content standards: manifests beginning oral language skills to communicate in different contexts, and the performance standards uses beginning oral language skills to communicate personal experiences, ideas, and feelings in different contexts. We also have here the phonological skills. We have here the book and print knowledge with its corresponding content standards and performance standards. We can see here that while oral language is emphasizing on communicating, the phonological skills are emphasizing on the sounds and syllables. And the book and print knowledge is emphasizing on how print works and the basic features of a book. So let me highlight the oral language to communicate here. Next, we proceed to the next domains of this matrix. The next domains here, we have the phonics and word recognition. Phonics and word recognition, which focuses more on the knowledge of the alphabet and decoding to read, write, and spell words correctly. And for fluency, the focus for this domain is on the sufficient accuracy, speed, and expression, the way students demonstrated that. And lastly, for this set of domains is composing. Composing is focusing on formulating ideas into sentences or longer texts using developmental and conventional spelling. On this slide, we have the grammar awareness, which focuses more on the language grammar and usage, both in speaking or writing. And vocabulary and concept development, it focuses more on the vocabulary itself and the concepts that come with the vocabulary. In listening comprehension, the focus of this is on the narrative and informational text, the understanding of these narrative and informational text. We can also see that here in the performance standards. Speaks or writes, the grammar, and we also have developing vocabulary, both in written and oral form. And in the listening comprehension, we have comprehends and appreciates. For our last set of domains, we have the reading comprehension. Reading comprehension, the focus is understanding narrative and informational texts in reading, of course. A while ago, we have the listening comprehension that is on the listening part. Attitude towards reading. Demonstrate positive attitudes towards language, literacy, and literature. Positive attitudes. Focuses on positive attitudes. And in the study skills, also focuses more on the skills to listen, read, and write for specific purposes, just like in how we study. We can also see that in the performance standards, narrative and informational text here, understanding, and attitude towards reading. The performance standards, there is also the valuing, and the study skills are the same, to listen, read, and write for specific purposes. So in summary, we have here the domains for grade 1. Oral language, phonological skills, book and print knowledge, phonics and word recognition, fluency, composing, grammar awareness, vocabulary and concept development, listening comprehension, reading, attitude towards reading, study skills. In grade 3, there is an additional domain, which is the spelling. So if you want to look it up, the grade 1 matrix is on page 11, the grade 2 matrix is on page 83, and the grade 3 matrix is on page 132. Let us be reminded that the grade level standard is where the domains are basing from. So the grade level standards tells us what is the necessary standard that should be achieved by the learners, and the domains, we follow that. The inclusion of domains rather. In here, we have the grade 1 MTB MLE quarter 1, week 1. As we can see here in the first column, there is a display of quarter 1, week 1. And as I have discussed a while ago, there is a certain theme for this week where the lesson is focusing. And in week 1, we have the My Family and I and likes and dislikes genre poem. And as what I have mentioned also a while ago, the domains are distributed within this week. And here in the curriculum guide, we can see the specific learning competencies or learning objectives that we have to include in the lessons for the whole week. One of these is to talk about oneself here for oral language. We also have here for book and print knowledge, fluency, the grammar awareness, vocabulary and concept development, attitude towards reading. Not all of the domains are catered in the first week. We can observe that here. So, which tells us that not all the domains in a week is necessarily catered, especially that this is only the first week of the first quarter as grade 1 pupils. So that would be all for the domains in MTB MLE. I hope that you have understood and grasped what the curriculum guide is telling us about the domains in MTB MLE. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you have learned something for this lesson.